I guess tell everybody how excited I am to be here, Columbia, and how great everybody's been, the university community, short time, and really excited to get my Meredith, my wife, and my 3 children, Thomas, Wellesley, and Landon, down here at the hopefully next week. So really excited about that, and just like I said, really excited. From the day I walked in here, just how positive, whether it was coaches, players, staff. The vision Shane has and how everybody's bought in, players and staff. It's just been really great, how everybody's working together for a common goal, and looking forward to a lot of exciting things to come.
How's it going, Jody? David Klondiker with the Charleston
David,
Post and Courier. You've been in the NFL the past 3 years. I know you've been in college before, but is it tough? Is it easy to get back into that recruiting style, especially with transfer portal and all the other stuff that's new since you were last in college?
That's a good question, David. I don't, having a lot of buddies, whether they were coaching the SEC, ACC, talking to them and, about players, the draft and stuff in the off season, during the season, hearing about all the new stuff with the transfer portal and everything. And when I left college the first time, the transfer portal was starting to come out. But, it is kind of getting a little bit to speed with that. But Taylor Edwards, does a great job here. He'd worked with me before at some numerous places. And Shane is, really on top of everything with it. And like I said, that's one thing I think Shane's put together a great staff in recruiting, and and it's every day we're talking about it. He understands that aspect of it, and always trying to make the roster better, whatever way we can. But it has been, I've kind of hit the ground running first day I got here, trying to watch all the recruits in my area and position, and figuring out who we have on our current roster and all that. So it's been fun, exciting. It's a little bit more exciting when you kind of get to go out and recruit and kind of can affect probably getting the players a little more. And where the NFL, you just have to draft them, or whoever's got the most money to pay them in free agency usually gets them. But it's been really good. And, in the SEC at the top level of it, it's really great. And like Shane said, I think there's so many things that he's done, with this great university, great city, and it's great staff. And when guys come on here and see everything, and all the great players and great coaches that have come through South Carolina before, it's really we really got something really great to sell.
Hey, Jody, Pete Iacobelli with the Associated Press here in town. How is being part of college coaching and then NFL coaching, how has that helped you? How has that helped your career? And is it a really vast difference between the two?
I've always I always wanted to coach in the NFL, something I was fortunate enough to do with 2 great organizations, the Browns and the Giants. But I think, same way with high school. My father was a high school football coach for a long time. Both my brothers are high school coaches. And I think I always tell people in high school, the relationships, if you can make them, a better player, better person, and help them, hopefully be part of winning a championship. And a lot of guys have aspirations to go play college. I said they'll always listen to you. If you can bring something of value to them, and there's so many great high school coaches that do that. And then same way in college, if you can help them, hopefully become a better young man that's going to go out and be a productive citizen one day, and hopefully if they have the talent that they can go make money playing football in the NFL. And I think when you get to the NFL, it's the same way. If you can help them extend their career, find a way to gain an extra yard by technique or an extra sack by taking this step, and where they can prolong their career or make more money playing that, and hopefully win a championship too, I think they'll listen to you. And that's one thing, I guess being a coach's son, same way, Coach Beamer is, I think we were both fortunate enough to have dads, I think, that taught us, about caring about the person first, more than just that they were X and an O. And that's what they always said about Coach Beamer. I always heard, Frank Beamer, Coach Frank Beamer, and you never heard a coach never wanted to leave working for him, and you've never heard a player do anything but praise him. And I know Shane got to see that coming up, and, I think you ask anybody here, I think he's the same way his dad is. It's a great place to work. He's a great place to coach and great place to learn underneath him. And same thing with players. They love him and love being part of his program.
Hey, Jody, Ben Portnoy with the state newspaper here in Columbia. Just obviously, you and Shane worked together a while back, and I know y'all were both pretty young at that point. But what do you kind of remember about working with Shane at Mississippi State and being a part of that staff with Joe and Freddie and all of those guys?
Oh yeah, we had a great staff. I think we were all very fortunate to see Sylvester Croom, who, in my opinion, is one of the greatest men and greatest coaches. Wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Coach Croom. And Coach Croom was the first minority head coach in the Southeastern Conference, and everything he did with that, and a lot of things at Mississippi, how he changed young men's lives, and still taught a lot of those guys today that are coaches and different things, and the impact he made, and I think with Shane when he was on the staff there, you always man, that's Frank Beamer's son, Coach Frank Beamer's son, but Shane, from the first day you met him, he was just always so humble, hardworking. Really, really good recruiter. I remember Anthony Dixon, a really great running back we had at Mississippi State, and Anthony had come there as a freshman, and I think was kind of looking for somebody to latch to and everything. And Shane did such a great job coaching him his freshman year. And I remember when Shane left, I mean, he was literally, this guy just had a great year. I think he was, all freshman SEC. And I remember he was crying in the football office, because he hated to lose Shane as a coach. I think it's because he poured so much into them and made them better, not only as football players but as people, and that was one thing I always respected about Shane, the way he got the most out of his players and just the way he did it, and was just a guy everybody always loved on staff. And I was really surprised. I think I always thought Shane was probably been a head coach or even sooner. I think South Carolina got a steal in him because I think he's a guy that's like I said, being around his dad, he was probably ready 10 or 15 years ago to be a head coach. So, but very fortunate to work with him at a young age, learned a lot from him, and so many guys on the staff, Woody McCorvey, that was at Clemson, Joe Judge, that was just got through being the head coach of the Giants, Freddie Kitchens. We had a lot of really great J.B. Grimes, offensive line coach, had a lot of really great coaches on that staff that I was fortunate enough to, being young and dumb, got to learn a lot from.
Hey, Jody, Mike Huber, Gamecock Central.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
You had the opportunity, as you alluded to, being able to coach with Shane a little bit when he was a little bit younger at Mississippi State, and you've had an opportunity to coach for one of the best college coaches of all time, Nick Saban. Being able to see a young Shane and now seeing him now and being able to work with a guy like that, what have you noticed in terms of some of the qualities he's grown with and maybe some similarities he's kind of showed? I know it's tough to compare to Nick Saban, but trying to just see what he's been able to do in terms of creating his own program here.
Yeah. Like I said, Coach Saban, I wouldn't be where I am today without, his influence, and so much I learned from him. And I always judge people. I always say, I always want to work for people that you would want your son to play for, and I would, love for my son, hopefully, if he ever played college football, I'd play for Coach Beamer. Same way with Coach Saban. You want your son because you know how much they're going to make them better people, better football players all the way around. And I think all coaches have different styles. I think, Coach Saban never tried to emulate anybody and was confident in the way he did things. But I think they're both such great, understanding basically their staffs, their players. Both are really, really into recruiting and understand the aspect of that. I think they're both great evaluators of talent, understanding what it takes to play at the highest level of college football. And also I think both of them do a great job of understanding what guys will come in and fit. I hadn't been here long, but it sounds like, a lot of the guys and just the meetings we've had just about every day, Shane's talking to us about recruiting, but about how guys are going to fit into the puzzle. So I think both of them are just kind of proactive guys. They're always trying to figure out how can I make this football program better, improving the roster, or if it's something like nutritionists, or if it's anything that's going to touch a football player or make them better. They're both, I think, forward thinkers and really great leaders,
And this may be an opinion from you, but with the transfer portal, with NIL, with everything changing so much, obviously we've seen college coaches go back to college. College coaches go to the NFL, NFL coaches come back to college. Can you see that being more of a trend now, with there being more similarities now to college? I know it's not the exact same to pros, but just wondering your opinion on that as you come back to college.
Yeah, I think it's one thing. I know a lot of head coaches are a lot smarter than me have kind of made comments about, it'd kind of be nice to get it kind of some, I guess, parameters and stuff with it, which hopefully, I know it's probably a lot smarter people thinking about ways to figure out some things with that, because you hate you hate to see guys transfer anytime they leave a school, but I know there's always situations why they left, and it may be a better fit for them somewhere else. But I do see where some coaches, they kind of like probably, they're tired of recruiting, doing some things, and hopefully if they've got an opportunity to go to the NFL, and the NFL, like I try to tell people all the time, it's definitely a business. You'll be coaching a player one day and they're released, and I'll be honest with you, that really always crushed me. I mean, it was like, I know a lot of them make a lot of money, so it's like, well, at least they got money to go back to, but it always just broke my heart. I've been like, no, where college, at least, you had them for 3 or 4 years and everything. But it's, I definitely missed the college game, the relationships, I guess, you kind of built with the player from whether you're recruiting them and getting them in the program for years to come. And fortunately, I went long enough with the stadium. We're in the NFL where we got some long-term relationships, but, you could definitely be special if you got to, stay a while at a place.
Do you got any good Taylor Edwards stories?
Taylor, oh, yeah, Taylor. It's a funny story. Taylor first came to Jacksonville State. I had a buddy, Justin Thompson, who was my high school quarterback at Pickens Academy. Tell you how old I am. I used to have hair back then. I actually, believe it or not, I played running back. I probably don't like it now, especially after all the food I've been eating here. But so Taylor, my buddy calls me. He's like, hey, I got this guy. He's a pitcher. He played junior college baseball, and he's wanting to get into personnel recruiting. He'd been at Troy or whatever. So Taylor literally shows up at this camp. Oh, man, I'm choking up. I need some water, but I'm good. But so Taylor shows up at this camp, and he's running around, and we got all these kids. It's in Montgomery. Jacksonville State, another Gamecock, great university where I played. But so Taylor's running around. It's just a madhouse. And we get done with the camp, and I was like, oh, man, how'd it go, Taylor? He's like, oh, man, this is great. I said, well, if he survived today, this is an absolute madhouse. He'll enjoy it. And he came back and started working with us at Jacksonville State, volunteering, and we couldn't run him off. He was always looking for whatever job you could do. I said, he's either crazy or he really wants to be in football, one or the other, so – but he's been a great asset. So, but he's just great with people and a great talent evaluator and everything. So, I know Shane's taught him a lot the year he's been here. And, he's got a really great staff that works really hard.
And I know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll let you take your sip of water. I know you've obviously seen recruiting from a couple different angles, from director, GM style approach to actually recruiting. What makes, especially in the SEC and at the college level, what makes a really good recruiter?
Well, I think the first thing is, and even, guys in the NFL, I think a lot of times you just the critical factors, at each position, I think that you're looking for in your style of offense. And I always believe that you kind of tell me, I'm always a big believer of tell me what they can do elite, not what they can't do. And I also believe when you start looking at players, and you say, their high school, well, if I'm a good high school coach and it's my best player on the team, I remember at Alabama when we were looking at Josh Jacobs, he was playing Wildcat quarterback, which the high school coach, that's very smart. You're making sure he's getting the ball every time. You may not have a quarterback that can throw to him, and just different things like that. I think looking at what they can do elite, and if you think they can, what they do best, and it can translate into the college game, especially the level they're having to play. And, you always love size, speed guys, if possible, that have NFL measurables, because more times than not, they're going to be the guys that are going to be productive players. You're always going to have your Hunter Renfrows that they're not have but they're unbelievable players. He still get open every day in the NFL, But I think that kind of starts with it. And also I think making sure that they have like a competitive spirit, because it's going to get harder. If you're a great SEC signee, you should dominate your high school, and if you dominate the SEC play, you probably should be a high draft pick, and things like that. And, because it's a lot. It's demanding to play college football and all the work and stuff that goes into it, and that you're going to have competition. And, I tell guys at the NFL the day you sign your contract that team's trying to find younger, cheaper labor to replace you. And I said the same way when hopefully the players we're signing here at South Carolina, I told my tight ends the other day, hey, I promise you I'm going to go try to sign the best tight end in the country we can find. So, you got to keep getting better too. And I think it makes everybody better, competition. And I think that was one thing Coach Saban did really well, unbelievable job at Alabama. Like the moment he signed somebody, he wanted somebody just as good the next class too. So.
Hey, Jody, Corey Diaz with the USA Today Network. And as a guy who grew up in Montgomery, Alabama, I think you and I may have started gaining some weight long before we got here, right?
That's right.
I'm curious, as a new coach coming in and joining a staff that's you're that last guy filling that last spot, what's the secret? What is the approach to coming in and sort of forming that chemistry with the other staff members ASAP?
Yeah, I knew a lot of these guys on staff, and the ones I didn't know personally, I'd always heard a lot of good things about them. And I know Shane, the type of guy he is, what he's going to try to have on his staff. And, I knew Coach Satterfield. I always had a lot of respect for him, meeting with him a couple times before about his offensive mind and knowing when he'd been with the Panthers. And Coach Atkins, I always knew a lot of guys. We had guys at the Giants that worked with Coach Atkins. So much respect for the offensive lines he's done. I think he's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. And, he's coached in the NFL before and done a great job. And Monterio, known a lot of people with him. And Justin Stepp had a lot of mutual friends. And, I think he does an excellent job with the receivers and throughout this state and everything. So it's been really, really good to get to know all those guys and all the graduate assistants and everybody, and just like I said, it's really a great group that working well together, and they've all been great to me, catching me up to speed and trying to rewire my brain with some terminology and stuff. But it's been great, and really excited about the schemes we're doing and some of the stuff we're studying and just the whole operation. Really excited.
Hey, Jody. Cam Gaskins with
Cam.
ABC Columbia. I'm not sure how much you've read up on the Gamecock fan base, but there's a pretty vocal contingent that has some strong feelings about the tight end being utilized in the passing game. I was just curious, in your talks with Marcus, how do you vision or what is your vision, I guess, for this position group, and how would you like to see them using this offense this year?
Yeah, well, I told Marcus we want to get them wide open and catch touchdowns and make their coach look good. So we're working on those plays. But no, we've got some really, really talented guys. Jaheim Bell, really talented guy, and Trey Kenyon, so there's really talented guys, and, Austin, and a lot of guys, they'll be coming here later. But I definitely think Marcus has got a good plan to use all, whether it's receivers, tight ends, running backs, we're really excited about, some different players with quarterback and a lot of different positions we think can even grow them from last year, watching tape from last year. And like I told him the other day, the key to being a good coach is get good players and manage them. So I told him, just make me look smart. So we'll be in good shape. But
Hey, Hale McGranahan with the Big Spur. With your post at Alabama as the DPP, can you kind of explain to folks what that entailed, what your duties were with that, and how similar was that setup to what y'all got going with Taylor and his career right now?
Coach Saban, in that role, he always kind of, I was coaching at UAB, and the program had got shut down, and Kirby Smart had called me, and he was the defense coordinator then, and Coach Saban, and I didn't have a job. I was actually looking for a job and was coming back from an interview of a job, and he kind of offered me the job. But in that role, it was basically you did everything, the roster management, kind of, evaluate players to who he was going to watch. Because, anytime I think head coaches, you got so many, and it's up to, the assistant coaches and people to kind of streamline it where they're basically getting to the main guys that they need to be watching that have a potential to play there. Basically you were in charge of most. I guess I could say I probably got chewed out for anything that went wrong in recruiting. That was probably a good way to say it. But at Alabama, we had so many great staff there that helped, and a lot of them have gone on to whether it's NFL jobs or different programs. And Coach Saban, he's the director of player personnel and everything, and he's it's amazing. I used to tell people how hard he worked at it, and whether how many kids he watched on the road recruiting and everything. And I see Shane the same way. I mean, he's nonstop working on it, communicating with kids, their coaches, to watching players, evaluating, and talking about how many position needs at each. And then I was fortunate enough to be the NFL liaison, getting to meet with a lot of the NFL scouts and general managers coming through. So got to make a lot of relationships there. whether you need to pick up the phone and call, general manager Les Snead or somebody from the Rams and get their opinion about a player, if they were, weighing whether they should come out for the draft or not, or different things. So it was a lot of, I got to be around a lot of smart people and hopefully soaked up some knowledge. So, it was really great. And a lot of them were always willing to share and teach you things, which I was very fortunate to be around a lot of great people coming through there.
Jody, at least on the NFL side, I know you worked with the guys through the draft and evaluating guys and stuff. I'm just curious, how does that, I guess, sort of relate to recruiting? How sort of transferable is that sort of back to college? How similar is that to recruiting on the front end? And I guess just how do those maybe sort of correlate, if at all?
Yeah, in the NFL, it's kind of the same way, we do here in Alabama, different place. You give everybody a grade. So, whether it's a 98 or whatever, how your grading system is by color for gold player, whatever it is. And same way in the draft, the NFL, you've kind of got them ranked, whether it's a first-round grade, a second round. So, probably the only difference is in college, you kind of say, hey, this guy's a offer top priority if we can get him, but hey, he may be, 5 states away, so we're probably going to have a little bit better chance of getting a guy a little bit closer to home, so you got to kind of to weigh, and you're still going after the best player and kind of how it works itself out, and then a guy commits and you take them off the board or whatever and move on to the next player. Same way with the draft, you may have a guy right up there, so number one guy we're about taking, and somebody drafts him in front of you, so you have to go to the next guy. But it's very similar with the deal, and I think it all starts with kind of a baseline grading system, and I kind of see it as almost like it's almost like a grade in a school. You're a 98 student, 93, which I was probably more of a D student, but, getting down there like a Madden grade and that's really kind of how you start, how you're ranking your board in recruiting about, hey, we want to take 2 or 3 guys at this position, and, these are the top tier guys kind of down, same way with the draft process. And, and that's one thing I think I respect so much about what Shane's doing, Coach Beamer's doing here, and the same way Coach Saban was about making sure guys were the right fit, and you want to find out the background and what their high school coach says about them, and people in the school, the principal, the counselors, people in the community, their parent, and making sure they're the right type of player you want to bring in to your, same way in the NFL as your organization. We're giving them a scholarship and hope we don't mess that up. Where the NFL, you're giving them, if you're drafting them high, millions, a couple of dollars, so you hope you don't make that mistake, because if you make too many of those mistakes, you probably won't be there long. So,
Jody, do you know which areas you're going to be recruiting?
Yes. Right now, I'm gonna have hadn't really all total finalized it yet, but local area here, a lot what Coach Kimmery had, and then kind of northeast Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi, Louisiana. Both my brothers are high school coaches, one at Tuscaloosa Academy and one at Bessemer Academy in Alabama. And my father, was a superintendent of education over in Columbus, Mississippi, so I know a lot of people from that area, and a lot of guys already kind of had their areas. So I'm excited about getting back on the road and stuff in the spring, and seeing a lot of coaches, and had a lot reach out to me, and hopefully I get a lot of coaches up to our clinic and come watch us spring football.
And how's that reception been from the guys you've been able to talk to in recruiting so far?
Oh, it's been great. Like I said, what Coach Beamer's done here, the excitement, and everybody sees it. Just like, we were sitting there last year, everybody in NFL, everybody's watching Saturday games, players and everything. And, just guys on our staff that knew Coach Beamer were so excited and kind of expected the success, he was going to have. But it was really great to kind of get back and get relationships. You already had a bunch of high school coaches text me about players, whether it's on their team or guys in their area, so I've been trying to grind away and getting a lot of those guys watched and evaluated, and looking forward to seeing a lot of them in person. Hopefully they'll be able to visit us this spring and everything. Guys, can't thank y'all enough.